welcome to episode 3. That almost didn't happen. I almost gave up hope completely that this channel would go anywhere. And it's not because of a lack of interest, it really was because of this monstrosity right here, the fake Tele that started it all. So it was because of this Telecaster that I've been playing for the last couple of months and being so impressed with the sound, especially the doom and the drone tones that I got out of this thing, that I decided to start the channel. But then as I was recording the third episode last week, it started buzzing for no apparent reason at all. So I know that everything on here is very cheap. The tuners are not meant to keep in tune perfectly because everything is very cheap. It's all very cheap parts. Better still than what you would get in a Squire Affinity Tele. And I'll get into the details of all of that now, but I just had the hardest time getting rid of a tremendous buzz that came out of nowhere. I restrung this guitar twice. I watched every tutorial on guitar setup. I did everything perfectly, measurements perfectly, and there was just the worst buzz in the world ever. Now, I'm pretty used to some buzz, and that is often due to, well, lazy playing technique, but also because we are tuning very, very low. And the strings obviously are a little bit more floppy than you would normally get, but it just drove me nuts. I drove my family nuts. I stayed up for nights on end, pardon me, trying to get this right. And I honestly tried everything. Initially I thought maybe it was the strings that were too thick. I put 2 different gauges of strings on. I went through every iteration of bow in the neck and leveling on the bridge. I could not get it sorted. I could not get it sorted, and I literally gave up hope, and I thought I was not going to continue this channel because this flies in the face of what I was trying to achieve. I was trying to show you guys that with a $80 fake Tele, you could get a decent drone and doom tone. So I was really disheartened and massively upset that I just, for no reason whatsoever, this guitar just started acting up. And I thought, you know what, you get what you pay for. This is $80, and it played well for a couple of months, and now the neck is warped due to temperature changes or whatever the case is, and now it's absolutely useless. But what I realized after, like I said, many attempts, is that there's a lot of misinformation around guitar setup. So like everybody else, I've got the gauges, I've got the rulers and all of that, and even if you follow the descriptions perfectly and the process perfectly, it did not want to. There was just tremendous buzz. The buzz is either at the top or at the bottom. I looked at 0.6 gauge, 0.8 gauge. I could not figure out what was wrong. I had the strings all the way up in the air. Every iteration and combination of adjustment that you could think of over the last week I did, and I was at my wit's end. Then today, I took a steel ruler and I flattened out the neck completely. Absolutely perfectly flat. So flat that the strings at the top, or the spacing at the top and the spacing at the last fret where it meets the body, was exactly the same. So no bend whatsoever, 0 degree bend. And then when I played it, I figured that the buzz was now equal across the entire fretboard. So the noise that I was chasing up and down as I adjusted the bow and the bend of the neck, and the heights of the individual strings of the bridge, that buzz was consistent throughout the whole bridge. So then what I did was I took a string at a time and plucked it and lifted the string at the bridge until it stopped buzzing as an individual pluck. Went through the whole set. It reduced the buzz by about 80% throughout the entire fretboard. So there was still buzz, but it was consistent from top to bottom. Then, playing power chords up and down, I would notice where the strings were still buzzing heavily, and I would only adjust those strings. So it ended up that the two middle strings had to be lifted slightly higher than I anticipated. So you're always looking for a curve there that meets the radius of a fretboard, but the center two I had to lift slightly higher. It doesn't impede the playability of a guitar at all, and the buzz is completely gone. So while this was never meant to be a lesson about setup, the advice that I can give you, if you've got that issue where you follow the instructions perfectly, you've got the exact correct measurements on your truss rod adjustment, and you still get that buzz, either bottom or a low buzz, try to flatten out the neck as much as you can. That solved it. So it meant that the strings were equally distributed from a tension perspective up and down, and then I could lift the individual strings where they were still catching. Another thing that I realized, well, I've got an identical Tele to this one. For some reason, this particular one does not like the very low tuning. So this is currently tuned a whole step down. So typical Sabbath tuning. So a whole step down, but it's still pretty low. It reduces the tension enough to create that fuzz that you're looking for, but at the same time does not reduce the tension so much that you get excessive string buzz. Okay, so a little bit more about this guitar. If you can see it right there, it's absolutely beautifully built. This is what is called a overrun. So you find them in secondhand stores or cheap department stores, and they typically branded something random. This one was branded Sanchez, and I've actually bought two of these Sanchez guitars. But if you look at the printing of the branding, it actually peels right off. So what happens is, obviously big brands outsource manufacturing of their guitars to China, Indonesia, Korea, all over the place, and these manufacturing plants create too many of these orders, and then these overrun guitars end up in the market, and they are rebranded by non-existing music manufacturing companies. There is no Sanchez guitars. You can check it out on the web. They don't exist, apart from a boutique guitar manufacturer in Mexico, also called Sanchez, but it's not the same guitar company at all. So I bought two of these, like I said, at $80. The first one I bought is of a very different quality to this one. The neck is thicker. It's got a better laminate on the wood, better tuners, and it stays in tune better. I could put lower gauges on it. It was just overall a better quality guitar. Had zero issues with the setup. And because I had such a positive experience with that guitar, I went out and bought another one when I found it. The lesson to learn here is, because these are overruns, they come out of different factories. So you really need to spend time in the store and do the things that they teach you. You put your finger at the top fret and the last fret as it meets the body. Check what the bend is in the neck. Check for excessive buzzing, tune it right there, tune it down right there. So what I'd like to do is, when I test out guitars in the store, the best way to see whether it's going to work for Doom is I tune it down to C standard right there using the tuner on my phone, and I get a very good sense of whether with thicker strings and some adjustment this could be a potential candidate for doom metal. Like I explained, the idea for a Tele came from an episode of Fuzz Lord Effect where they spoke about the Tele having a longer scale and therefore potentially being more suitable to doom. But the guitars they used in that example had humbuckers. So they had aftermarket humbuckers. You see that this is the traditional setup, traditional bridge. Also one of the reasons I prefer this over the Squire. And then the single little lipstick there and the single quill at the back. I just thought that because the single quill is so twangy, in other words, it creates a lot of resonance, it's very raspy. I was curious to see what it'll do if you put this through a Proco Rat, and I was just completely blown away. My first sort of attempt at this was recreating a sun tone, which I felt it did very, very well. The sustain is incredible, that deep raspy resonance is there, and it's just absolutely magnificent. I do, however, not own the correct sound equipment to replicate the sound that I'm hearing in there. So when also part of this exercise of the last week trying to sort out this guitar, I realized that I get a better quality sound if I just tone down a little bit on the distortion with this guitar. Other guitars sound fine if you push it all the way to max, but with this guitar it really started flattening out. So if you look at the wavelength, it just sort of clips heavily. Despite turning the volume down, it still clips. It's just as if the software is not able to fully articulate or replicate what the guitar is doing. That being said, I think just from a clip that you heard before, it gives a very convincing doom metal tone in line with Electric Wizard and Acid King. I'm very pleased that I managed to sort this out, because I'm planning more episodes where I will try and bring this closer to a very deep drone, and hopefully I can recreate for you what I've got going in my little corner here in our office. Until next time, thank you very much for the support. I've had a few subscribers, but I really enjoyed the interaction. I met a lot of people. I'm not in the music business at all, but I trade guitars through OLX, which is equivalent to Craigslist that you've got in America. Guitars and gear and pedals and all the rest of it. And met a lot of people, and as I meet them, I tell them about the channel and they give me feedback, and every week I'm trying to make it better. I am still attempting to do this once a week on a Thursday, but like I said, the last week I've just been fighting this thing. And if I didn't come to a very sudden, successful exploration this morning, I would have abandoned it completely. So praise be to God, and thank you very much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.